Oh, Destiny's awesome.
Okay.
She went to EKU and she was there a little.
The mic and the video's on. So we're gonna have that. We're gonna have that slideshow. And this, you should be able to,
Boom, boom.
yeah, just click that.
Does back and forward work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Let me know if you need anything.
Oh,
Have fun. Have fun.
should I wait on Mike? I'm Jesse, by the way. I don't know if I've formally introduced you. Jesse Kerr.
Yeah, I think I met you like.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long you been here now? Couple months? Yeah. Gotcha. Cool. Right. Are you doing this full time now? Okay. I didn't know if you also work or not.
No.
Yeah. Cool. Are you by yourself or have you joined a team? Yeah. Nice.
Well, there's been some talks about joining up under one group, but
Yeah.
officially.
Sure. I don't blame you.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Weighing my options.
Yeah. Absolutely. You should. The Underwoods are sweet though. I love both of them, and they do a lot of business. But you also got to make sure it's the right fit for you. You know, because if you join a team, you're giving up 50% of everything. So it's like you got to figure out. I mean, it's honestly better if you can hustle and do it by yourself. In my opinion, you work less and make more money. But teams are good for certain people. It just it depends on you. Yeah.
I'm trying to weigh like
Yeah.
benefits.
Absolutely. And definitely talk to, Kelly or any of the people in leadership, if you're like, I just don't know what to do. They always lead you in a good spot. I assume she made it live, so we're good, right?
It should be good to go.
All right, Hatter will be here. He's in and out of these bad boys.
Yeah.
All right, so today's actually the cool one. So it's just working with buyers and sellers. So it's the fun part after you kind of get them under contract and what to expect as you kind of work through the transaction and how best to communicate with them and that kind of stuff. It kind of gets a little boring at sometimes, so I'll try to speed through a lot of this. But since it's just us and you've been in the business for Lord, who knows how long, we'll just get right after it.
Not as long as you.
True. When did you get your license?
8 years.
That's it? Dude, I feel like you've been in longer than that. You've only been in 8 years? Dude, if I was gonna guess, I would have thought you'd have been in like 15. That's how good and smart you are. I would have.
Exposure, you were the first guy I met.
Really? When was that? Where?
I was still working in state government.
Yeah. It's probably because I have a loud mouth and I just
Well,
saw.
no, I didn't put it together until after.
Oh, really?
I didn't say that.
I love it.
Well,
That means I didn't do a good enough job to tell you what I did. That's my fault.
No, you showed me the place.
Yeah.
Looked at it, analyzed it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
And now here you are. I love it. All right, so today's agenda, at the end of the session, you'll be able to identify the key information to build success with buyers and sellers. You'll employ strategies to assist buyers and sellers in their decision making, and you'll be able to build a strong success foundation relationship with their clients and their other agents. To start thinking about what we're going to learn today, let's consider what questions we might have or what we want to learn about. It's asking you to break up into groups and do like a little 5-minute conversation. But does anybody have any questions before we get started? As like something you want to know about the transaction process? Anything you can think of? Because I mean, we're going to go through it, but if you had anything, I can make sure I can hit on it.
I'm curious about how you. I got a text this morning from a closing that happened 2 weeks ago, over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And their water heater's going on. It's not as.
I got a similar one last night, about one that closed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not the water heater, different issue, but.
But my point is, how do you, I mean, in your experience, how is the best way to handle that? I can't spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
Obviously. But
You have the buyers, I assume?
I have both, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have both.
I know that makes me. We're gonna get into dual agency in here. That's funny. No, I mean all I do. I mean, look at it. At that point, you're already past closing, so I just try to smooth the situation out. Obviously, the buyers are hot, and you just got to kind of calm them down and walk into it. But at the end of the day, I'll straight up tell them like, there are routes you can go if like you're mad at the seller, but that's going to involve you get an attorney, that's gonna involve you having to have proof that they lied about it or that something was wrong with it. There's really,
Well, they said it worked, that when they first moved in, it worked, it was working.
Yeah.
At least, you know.
but now it's not too
Two
good.
weeks.
Unfortunately, you look at it and be like, well, welcome to home ownership, you know, that's part of it. We had our inspections, we agreed on our repairs, like. At the end of the day, you closed on it and it was working fine. It's just bad luck that it happened to, you know. And then on the other end, I also tried to tell them on the other end, like, I had one that the buyer, we went through inspections and the day before closing, it was an older heating and air unit, like 22 years old. So we had a warranty, but that was going to take in effect the very next day. Went out, seller had to put a whole brand new unit in $11,000 because they had to deliver, you know, working heating and air. And the seller did, you know, that's just bad luck for the. So it's just that's just part of life, unfortunately. You know, I understand you're upset. It's only been 2 weeks, but we knew how old it was. We knew, you know, you had your inspections, it was working fine. It's just unfortunately it quit working right after you bought it. And be like, luckily you can get a new one and it's gonna work for 5 to 10 years, hopefully.
You know, you say
But
five.
you just try to calm them down and you know, I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry you're dealing with that, you know, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, it's just they just need somebody. You're their counselor. They need somebody just to vent with. That's what it is. I mean, we are counselors half the time. It's just confusing problems.
Where I feel guilty though, just couldn't remember if it was an electrical water heater.
Oh, but that happens. I'm the same way. I have to go back and look stuff up. I mean, you see so many houses, you show so many houses. We can't remember every single one. I mean,
I feel bad, but I would not spell out, we need this.
yeah,
I don't,
Yeah.
I just give you a real life situation.
yeah. That's just the hard part about being realtors. Like I said, sometimes you have to be the counselor. You gotta take calls even when it's not transaction related, and just calm them down. But at the end of the day, you still want to do the best you can and calm them down because you want them to call you when it's time to sell.
Yeah.
So I just try to put myself in their shoes and realize they're upset. It's a tough situation. Just try to calm it down as best as possible. All right. And sorry, I've got allergies going on, so I got a little drainage and headache, but we'll get through this. This is from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers and sellers' real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking of service. And that rings true 100%. If you're, I mean, it's really true. The really good ones, every transaction, their client, they take their clients' best interest at heart. Like it's above all else. So if you're not in it for that, you're probably not going to be in it for the long haul. Because I mean, this is honestly the biggest transaction somebody's going to have in their life for the most part. So you always need to be thinking of what's best for them. This point in the transaction we're going to focus on today is the time between getting a signed buyer and listing agreement, which you guys should have already went over, and then receiving or making an offer. However, just as you are going to take aspects of lead gen into the transaction, you'll of course take aspects we discussed today through and past closing. Our first topic is the success of clients. Let's cover things you do with both buyers and sellers to make the process transparent and smooth as possible. And honestly, that's my number one goal in a transaction is to make it as stress-free as possible. That's why you do a buyer's rep meeting ahead of time, get that signed, is kind of delay the law and set things out. But they're going to forget half of that stuff half the time. So as we get to this next stage, the number one key is communication. So you always, in my opinion, you always need to be ahead of let them know what's to come so they don't freak out. The more you can never have too much communication. So the more you communicate, the better the process is going to be, the more at home they feel. Yeah, don't pull that one break. I do it every time and then I can't get it back. They do. All right. The key to success with clients is, like I said, communication. We've covered this in so many ways, including the assistance that Command and the KW app provide in making sure you're communicating with value to your sphere of influence, leads, and clients. Great communication is a foundation for great relationships with your clients. Remember, they are trusting you with likely their biggest financial decision and what will serve as the foundation for their lives and their families. Look at the participation guide. You need to make sure that your communication in these instances, one, you need to provide a strong foundation for a sustainable relationship because you want them to be clients for life. Two, set and manage expectations proactively throughout the transaction. And again, this helps avoid any headaches down the road. As long as you let them know hey, we just passed this. This is what's coming next. It just helps smooth that transaction for sure, gives them peace of mind, creates peace of mind for your clients, and then 4, enhances your credibility. It's important to recognize that you can rarely over communicate with clients. This is a complicated process that they will only navigate typically a few times in their lives. You will continually set expectations to keep everyone on track with your communication. The 3 levels of service. So in addition to the 4 underlying ideas you'll need for communication with clients to convey, let's remind ourselves of the 3 levels of service from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Remember, by keeping these levels in mind, you will serve your clients to the highest level possible. Purpose. Masters of service have a clear understanding of why they should be hired and can articulate to anyone at any time. Great service begins with clear purpose for why someone should work with you. So you got to have, that's kind of like your why. You know, you got to have your big why. Why do they need to work with you? Obviously for your expertise, right? 2, value proposition. The best agents can translate their purpose and why people should hire them into specific set of services they will provide. And then you have fiduciary. Highly productive agents provide a level of service based on their commitment to act as a fiduciary for their clients. They place their clients' interests above all others, even their own. A fiduciary brings a level of care and trust to the relationship that a functional agent does not. Let's dig a little deeper into like what's the difference between a functionary relationship and a fiduciary relationship. Let's see. Does anybody know the difference between functionary and fiduciary?
I know what fiduciary is.
What is it?
I've never seen.
So a functionary is like an admin. Yeah, correct. You have a specific task relationship. So like if you have an admin, they're kind of like a functionary relationship. They have tasks they have to complete for the
Fiduciary is having to do with money.
Well, no. A fiduciary means you have a relationship with them, like you're the high trust relationship that you're always going to put their needs above your own or anyone else's. Whereas a functionary relationship, they're just like completing specific tasks
Sure.
for the client.
Transaction.
Yeah, correct. Let's see here. Dual agency, which we kind of got into. This one gets a little tricky. I personally do dual agency. Scott obviously does because he just did one. I can understand if you're if you're a newer agent, maybe wanting to avoid those. I get it. I'm on a team, so my mom is on there. A lot of times when we're dual agency, we'll try to split it up to where we're like, hey, you know, we also represent the seller. I'm going to let my mom kind of handle them. Now, that still takes a lot of level of trust because they know we work together, but they have to trust we're, you know, not sharing pertinent information about the others. But if dual agency is legal in our state, which it is, you can simply mention the concept as something that clients might have questions about if they're coming from another area. This is a great place to bring up. That's just okay. Dual agency is when you represent obviously both the buyer and the seller. This is legal in most states. It's not advisable by a lot of attorneys, and a lot of people recommend, like I said, newer agents to kind of avoid it until you get comfortable with how to make the buyers on both sides comfortable with it. There are many infractions and endangers to agents' licenses stem from this practice. So what that's saying is there are a lot of lawsuits over the years that stem from dual agency. Being in a fiduciary relationship, meaning a high trust position with your client, means that you're making decisions based on their best interests. This is challenging when you're working for 2 parties with competing interests. Will your buyer expect that you're telling them everything about a house, even items that may not be required to be disclosed? Will your seller expect that the offer you're making on behalf of your buyers is in their best interest, since you have knowledge of their pre-approval amount and finances? Which of the Y4C2Ts apply to not representing both sides? It would be win-win and trust. Because it's hard when you're representing both sides for them to fully trust that you have their interests above the others. And it's also hard to make it a win-win for both sides when you're dealing with both sides. Like I said, it's tough, but you can do it. So you owe confidentiality to both parties, right? How can you be sure that you're not giving away confidential information even accidentally? So here's some things that can go wrong, just to kind of warn you with dual agency. Are you really prepared to negotiate against yourself? When negotiating inspection items, how will you make the seller's case to the buyers that the HVAC system is in working order, and therefore should not be repaired, while telling the seller that the system is close to the end of its useful life and therefore should be replaced or covered by a warranty? Both are legitimate representations of the same issue. They just come with different perspectives, obviously. Also, would you ever go to court with someone who shared your same attorney, right? So you probably wouldn't. So it's kind of like in that similar situation. All I'll say is if I'm in that situation and I'm dealing with both sides, is you try to go back to making it a win-win. And so I'm going to the sellers and being like, let's take the HVAC for an instance. Be like, look, they're saying they want to replace because it's almost at the end of its age. We know it works. Like, what can we do to make this a win-win for everybody? Like, can we give them a warranty and say, hey, we know it's old, but it's working. Let's negotiate to this. So yeah, I just try to play both sides and negotiate it to where everybody's happy. I mean, I think if that's your main goal and you're doing both sides, you're doing the best of your ability to represent both sides. Because at the end of the day, the buyer wants the house, the seller wants to sell the house. So you're trying to get them to that goal. You just have to be careful again with what you say, what information you delve. Make sure you're not giving pertinent information that you're not supposed to both sides. Many agents will work both sides of transaction. However, it's something that you need to think about carefully. If you make it a practice to not, so you could add this to your value proposition. If you're of the mindset right now, like I'm not comfortable doing that, add that to your value proposition when you're going to meet with a seller or a buyer and be like, look, some agents will work both sides. I'm not going to do that because I feel like I need to focus on your needs and your needs only. So you'll never have to worry about me and where my loyalty lies. So you just got to be careful. Setting expectations. So we've talked about the 3 levels of service and revisited being a fiduciary relationship instead of a functionary. You can see those as the what of being a great agent. Now let's talk about the how. How you reach the 3 levels of service for your clients is largely about communication and education. As a real estate agent, you are immersed in buying and selling houses every day. It's your job, and not for a lot of us, it's our passion as well. For clients, this is something they may never have done. Even if they're a repeat buyer or seller, they're unlikely to do this more than once every 8 years. I think it's pretty accurate. It used to be once every 5, and it's gone up to about 8 years now. The stakes are huge. For most of us in the US, our homes are the single biggest asset. Therefore, you're going to demonstrate your expertise by educating your client on the realities of the market, as well as their personal real estate process, and you're going to do it often. To do this, first, you need to set expectations for the process and for your communication. A key component to educating your clients is to review the entire process. You've already touched on this during your buyer listing consultation. However, this, like I said earlier, this is very complicated and emotional for most people. They're not going to remember everything the first time you tell them, especially when it isn't in proximity. This is true for almost everything in our lives. If you ask what you're going to have for dinner next week, would you know? If you don't, are you worried? Nope. So it kind of gets lost. Of course not. The meal is not near your needs. Right now, you're much more interested in the next meal, picking up your dry cleaning, getting blah, 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 running all your errands. So just remember when you laid out that process previously, they probably only remember what's coming in the next week or so. They're not going to remember what's down the line. When I need to order the inspection, do I need to order the appraisal? Like you got to keep all that in line for them. And again, that comes down to communication. All right. Set the time expectations. Okay, if you're a buyer and they need to get out, so if you told a buyer they need to get out to see properties the same day they hit the market 2 months ago when they were focused on getting their down payment together, they're likely not going to remember that by the time they get to showing houses. So if you're now setting up their search, you should update them on how quickly the market is moving in their desired neighborhood or their price point. Make it clear why it's important to shift their schedules around to the point of inconvenience to see a house if it fits their criteria. At this time, you'll also need to remind them that if they see a house they like, they need to put in an offer right away, right? So 2 years ago when the market was crazy, if you didn't show a house as soon as it hit the market, it's gone. It was gone by that night. Now it's slowed down a little bit now. I think you can take a little time and say, let's go the next morning. But at the same time, if it's a house that meets their criteria, the sooner the better you can get out there. And more than likely, we still have limited inventory. If they love it and it fits their needs, they need to jump on it because otherwise it's gone. So that is very clear today, but you need to set those expectations so they know, like, hey, we like this house, let's go see it next week. But like, well, it may not be there next week. Like, let's go look at it now. And like I said, we're still in a market like that. We're still in a very much of a seller's market because of the low inventory. The same goes for sellers. Just because you covered how chaotic the first week in the market might be during the listing presentation 2 months ago, that doesn't mean they'll remember. Reiterate how important how flexible it is to be, how important it is to be flexible for those showings. For most people, it's very rare to have to make such big decisions in such a short period of time. Prepare your clients for this change at their day-to-day pace. This is especially important as you get to the time-sensitive portions of the contract. Often contracts require an answer within 24 hours, if not less. Therefore, you should make sure your seller knows once the house hits the market, be ready to respond to your texts and calls pretty much immediately. I would say most will do that, but you've got some that won't. And you'll know as you communicate with them how responsive they are. If they're the ones that take a while to get to you, whether that be work or just their personal lives, I would reiterate that point more. Like, hey, the sooner the better we can get back to these. You need to make sure you're calling me back. Set document expectations. So you'll likely need to go over the contract before you ever see a house with your buyers and before showings begin with the sellers. By going over it now, there isn't a time pressure. They will have some familiarity with it. They'll know how the contract works, and you'll just have to mostly highlight the high points. In addition to the contract, there's other documents that I go over with my people. We don't see this a lot, but there's a appraisal waiver. So I kind of mentioned that to people. Some lenders, depending on where the house is located and if it's appraised recently or sold recently, they'll waive an appraisal. Well, that's a benefit to the buyer. So I'll talk about that because that's something they can check into with their lender. And if you don't ask about it, sometimes the lenders aren't going to offer it. Inspection waivers, you got property disclosures, lead-based paints, all that kind of stuff. I try to review the majority of that, even with sellers, just so they know what to expect. So the more you can prepare the sellers, the quicker they can respond because they don't have to read through 15 pages of documents. At each stage, you'll review them with them, where you are, where you're going, future pace with your clients. Be sure they know everything that's going to happen before it happens. For example, when talking to buyers, who have just submitted their offer, you would tell them how long the seller has to get back, which is normal. Like I'll go over everything we put in there. Like, here's the offer you're signing. This is what we're offering. Like we talked about, blah, 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 blah. And then I've got sellers have to respond by midnight tonight or whatever it is. Make sure they know, because if they don't, they're just going to reach out to you and text. They're like, when will we know something? So if you get out in front of it, it makes you the expert, makes them trust you and know you've got everything covered on their end. Also let them know what outcomes can they expect. They may accept it, they may counter, they may reject. What are the basic steps in all these scenarios? And I do, especially if it's their first offer, that I'll tell them straight up, like, I gave them till midnight tonight to respond with an offer. Usually if they counter, they're going to give us till the next day at like lunch or whatever. But there's a very good chance if they get it back to us, the sooner we can knock all this out tonight. So just kind of lay out how you would like the transaction and the negotiations to go. That way they know how to be available. Set communication expectations. Some agents feel like they can never turn their phone off or take a day off. That's not the way to live your life. I mean, it's really not, especially as a new agent, you'll do that a lot. I mean, and I get it. But at some point it's gonna run you ragged and you're gonna realize, like, I need a day, I need a break. So
Let's work on this one because
yeah, it's
I struggle with.
well, everybody does. And I mean, at some point it's like, especially if you're negotiating a contract, family sometimes just has to go on hold because that's of importance. And I think your family will understand. I mean, this is how you make your money and this is your living. But yeah, at some point you have to decide what if it's nothing that's super urgent and important, you can, like, leave that. Like, if we're eating dinner and my phone goes on silent, I put it down, and it can't be that important. So I'll wait till after dinner and check my phone. But for the most part, I try not to be on it super late at night, unless it's something urgent. Things come up like that. But outside of that, I try to be done before dinner time. And for the most part, most sellers, buyers, clients, they have families too. They have a home life. So you just kind of have to set
I don't remember
expectations.
that
They don't
once.
sometimes. I agree. And that's what I said. If it's something urgent or a fire that needs to be put out, obviously you can take the call. But it is tough. It's tough not to make real estate run your life. But I think as you go through it, you'll find the balance. I mean, but there's times that there is no balance. It's just, that's the way of the world. It's like, and like weekends, we work a lot of weekends, like,
Really good try wait or miss out or something.
I mean, and you will, I mean, but yeah, but also like, that's what I said, it's tougher as you're newer age and you don't want to miss out, but as you get older, like you'll realize, well, if that was that important and I missed out on that client because I was doing something with my family, then it is what it is. If they don't understand, I also have a life, but,
It's hard to sell.
it is. I mean, a salesman's job it's tough on the family life. It is. And I think the family has to understand, and for the most part, they will, especially if you're successful at it. But you'll find the balance. And I think everybody's different in how their personal lives are and how their work lives are, and you just have to find the balance that works for you, so you don't go crazy. But sometimes we still go crazy, right? Right, Mike?
Well, I want to just add something to that I had a really bad experience this spring. I had $1 million property
Yeah.
and everything was going to be great. And then all of a sudden, like, we're gonna go with another agent. Well, the other agent was a family member that had already listed properties across the road that they didn't even tell me they had. It was three lots.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah, that's
I lost that. And in all honesty, that was one of my best days all year because they were so hard to deal with.
Well, see, and not every client's worth it. I mean, some clients need to be fired, and you'll learn. I mean, I've worked with clients who run you ragged and just wear you out and stress you all out, and then when you get rid of them, even though you lose that condition or whatever, it's like a relief. I mean, it is. It's just like, I mean, you had that one lady.
You did too.
She was nuts, man. I mean, wore me ragged. I mean, you'll learn.
This lady was-
Not every commission is worth it.
This lady was she was absolutely certain that I had lost the key. And I was in Lexington, and every time I did stuff, she wanted it all to be in person, so I would go down there. And anyway, so I wasn't really thrilled when I got there,
Right.
but I go in
And it's hard to be good at your job when you're not happy.
I said, do you remember at our listing appointment, I said, anything that I put away will be in this drawer. Pick me out one drawer like in the kitchen and I'll put it in there.
And that's where it was.
So she does, she goes off on me about losing it. My sister's already searched the entire house. And
Right.
So I went down there and I said, let's go in here.
Yeah.
So we both walked in, I go to that drawer and pulled it out, and she goes, well, look there.
You're like pulling your hair out.
Got a diamond ring story like that.
Do you
Do
really?
you really? Actually, I think you told me that one.
Well, they think you stole it or something.
It's
But some people are just crazy.
yeah, and they're not worth it. They're not.
Sometimes you do just have to let it
Yeah.
go, because it takes so much of your energy.
100%.
You try and make a crazy person
Yeah.
happy.
And if they're crazy, they'll end up getting you in trouble somehow. You know what I mean?
I gave her the number to the board and told her who to call.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. The one client, Scott ended up almost taking, and then he found out I worked with her. I was like, stay far, far away, man. But anyways, all right, set contingencies. So what will happen if a home comes on the market that is perfect for your buyers the weekend your sister is getting married out of state? Have a plan and communicate it well in advance. For example, if the wedding is May 1st and you start working with these buyers March 1st, you already know about the wedding. Communicate with them when you meet them after signing the agreement. That way everybody's clear. Obviously have a backup plan, right? If you know you're going to be out of town, there's always agents here we'll cover. That's the best part about the little app we use and Facebook. A lot of times you can pay somebody just to open the door, show up for you or something. So always communicate, especially if we're not going to be there. Have a backup plan if you can't cover something like that. Set up to date market expectations. So this is also very important, especially when dealing with listings. Updating your client's view on the market is another way to make sure and show that you're the expertise here, that you're the expert. They need to understand the realities of the market they are in. Is it a seller's market or an extreme seller's market? Are house sales slowing down or becoming more of a buyer's market? National trends in the housing often are on the news. However, that doesn't mean what they're hearing on the news is what's applying to our current market. Set clear intervals in which you will re-educate your clients on the current market. A move from a median of 60 days to 45 days can extremely impact how quickly your client will find or sell a home, and therefore on the plans they're having. surrounding that sale. Be sure to translate what the market means to them. In extreme seller's market where houses are going for an average of 10% over asking, should you be looking at the top price point? Not really, right? Because if they're approved for 300 and there's houses in the 300s and it's extreme market are getting multiple offers and going for that above that, it's kind of pointless. They're going to lose every time. So you're wasting your time. So educate them that way you're not wasting your time and therefore wasting their time. Set expectations as far as KW Tech. Obviously, download the app if you've got it. If you aren't using the app or Command or any of that stuff, Lexi's your girl. Sit down with her. She teaches classes like once a week on Command with different things. All your advertising can be in there. Definitely sit with her to get your tech situated. And I'll be honest with you, I don't use the tech as great as I should. That's something I need to sit down with her about and get organized too. 3 steps to gain a referral. So this is huge. Referrals are, I would almost say I actually went to a breakfast with a bunch of agents the other day and I had 3 people up there. Referrals are 100% where it's at. Like our business is about 90% referral based. The top 3 agents up there, which were all 10+ million producers, one of them was 99% referral based, one of them was 93% referral based, another one was 88. So that's what we talk about. Every client, every house you sell, I want them to be clients for life. So but at the same time, to gain their referrals, you've got to provide them value, and most importantly, you got to ask for it. So you're probably sitting here thinking, we haven't even put an offer in a house. Why should I be asking for referrals? Why should I be asking for reviews? Because you're already providing value, which is the first step in gaining referrals. From the beginning, tell your client throughout this process, I'm going to give you amazing service. I'm going to earn your trust. So you'll want every member of your family to work with me. 68% of sellers who use an agent found their agent through a referral from a family member, a friend, a coworker, something like that. 68%, almost 7 out of 10. 3 steps to getting good referrals. 1, provide value, obviously, which we've talked about. Provide education, advice, care, have their needs above your own. 2, you've got to ask for it. Let people know that you're in a business, that your business is based on referrals. Your conversations book has some great, easy ways to ask for help. It can be as simple as I rely on referrals. If you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, I'd be grateful if you'd let them know. Reward. So this is key too. I do this as well. Reward the behavior of the referral. So don't wait for the close. If you have a past client or a friend or a family member that sends you somebody, immediately write a note like that next day. Send them a gift card or something, depending on the referral. But I try to reward it's the action that you're rewarding, not the transaction. So that means a lot, and all it is, you can, even if you don't want to give them anything, let's say it's your mom, it's your best friend, just send them a note saying thank you for sending that referral. I promise you I'm going to take really great care of them. But that means a lot. That it means a lot that they know that you're thanking them before you even made any money off of something they sent. And even if you don't make money, you're still rewarding them because you want them to keep sending you people. So that was one key I learned early on in real estate from the same class, is reward the behavior of the referral.
That's good. That's good advice.
It is. In life and anything.
Sure, that can get it. Exactly. I continue to have this conversation with a neighbor across the street who referred me to their father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be the best.
100%, yeah.
We're gonna posterior off.
Oh yeah.
I make sure it works.
I work harder on the referrals because they're sending it to you, they trust you. I want that experience to be phenomenal.
It's gone, it closed over a year ago in May. And of course, we had a really good report first.
Yeah.
And it's already shipped away.
Yeah, that's right.
It's down, really nice home.
Yeah.
I know exactly what I wanted. I've got a point.
We'll get that. You'll get that.
He gets into it.
Yeah.
And finds that there's things that were not so disclosure.
Mhm.
They end up in a lawsuit.
Ooh.
And I'm sitting there in the background watching.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm for my client, I can only do so much.
Right.
Can I ask a quick?
Once the attorneys are involved. Yeah.
So like I've got the client from Malaga, Spain, she's in Spain. So I've got her house like almost ready.
Yeah.
And to put it on market. I don't know, like. I lost my train of thought. Anyway. Oh, the seller's disclosure.
Okay.
So seller's disclosure, I know it has the line down there where they can sign off and it says, you know. My agent is gonna fill out this document. I need to know, like, I wanna be totally protected on that.
In my opinion, you need to talk to an attorney or Mo. Then I don't like filling it out for them because then it puts me in an awkward spot. Yeah. I don't. My practice is I don't do it, and I've never done it.
She lives in Spain, what can I do?
Email it to her, and she can print it out and sign it. Dot Luke, can she not do
Her
electric?
her text address is I load the tech.
Yeah.
She can't do.
I don't know.
She can't do anything on there.
Or don't fill it out and have her sign. She's not gonna fill it out.
She have a POA to handle stuff over here.
I'm gonna be, I'll be your power.
Okay.
Does she know how to print something out?
All right.
Actually write one?
She's actually really, I don't understand the problem
Yeah.
because she's really intelligent and. She just hates.
I mean, technically, I think you're covered because it says on there, I'm filling this out, blah, 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 blah. But I would check with Bo on that just to make sure you're covered.
Okay.
Back to the referral thing,
Yeah.
like I've heard Bo say you can't really give someone who's unlicensed for a referral. So it gets a little bit sticky and that's what you're.
Well, so you kind of, you just need to make it to where it's like, you're not writing, here's a gift for the referral. Like, you're just saying, like, if I write him a note, I'll put, thanks for the referral, you're the best, blah, blah, blah. And
I guess it
then,
knows too.
yeah, and then I'm sending them a gift, not payment for a referral. Yeah. It's tricky. I would say for the most part though, if it's a past client of yours and they're not licensed, they don't know what the rule like. So as long as you're not letting anybody else know, you'll be fine. Always playing the gray. Reviews.
In trouble.
Yeah, I know. And then reviews are honestly very important. Make sure you have your Google page set up. Obviously, again, Lexi's awesome with that. Asking for reviews. I would ask for reviews many times throughout the process. Because sometimes if you wait till the very end, and I learned this the hard way, they're busy with moving in, unpacking, getting organized. They don't really get to jumping on there and giving you a strong referral. Whereas if you do it maybe halfway through the process, they're kind of engaged and they'll hop on there. And
And
it's
doing it at closing.
yeah. Yeah, and that'll work as long as they're willing to do it. Sometimes I'm just like closings are chaotic.
There's
They're
not much.
yeah, and so I try to get it done before. But as long as you get it done, that's the most important thing. Let's see, buyer reviews, seller reviews, seller oriented excuse me, seller oriented reviews gain attention when they address things like the client's home sold quickly, they got their asking price or above, they were impressed by the service. So it's kind of just giving you some hints on like when you tell them you want a review, hey, can you leave a review? If they hint on any of these things, it kind of jumps you up there in the reviews. Buyers, when they point out the buyer found their perfect home quickly, the agent negotiated a great price, the transaction went smoothly, they were impressed by the service. Those kind of things are great on your buyer side reviews. Ahas. Anybody got any ahas I'm going to share? I mean, I think we've kind of shared and talked as we went. Yeah, I agree. Okay, back to the agenda. So we've covered a lot from dual agency reviews, referrals. Most importantly, we talked about key ways to help make them happy, keep the relationship consistently, clearly communicate, and keep up with the current market and the process for buying and selling. Now let's talk about specifically what buyers need from you. So most buyers want, this is what most buyers want from their agent. You've got 52% want help finding the right home. 24%. It's hard to read. Oh, that's the other. That's right. 13% want help negotiating the term of the sale, and then 11% want help with the price of negotiations. Anybody know what could be included in the other, the 24%? What buyers want? They want help with paperwork. They want help finding comparable homes to make sure they're not overpaying. And then they need help to determine how much they can afford. So like sitting down with them, going over their pre-approval, that's all included in like this 24%. But typically they mainly want you to help them find the home and negotiate. Buyer needs analysis. So you've already gone over this, or you should have already gone over this typically like previously in your rep agreement. But the first step in seller buyer service is being aware of their needs. You should have done this thoroughly in the needs analysis, but you're going to have to revisit this throughout the process, especially before they buy a home or find a home. We need to revisit this mainly for finding out if anything's changed in their lives. Do they have a growing family? Have they got a pay raise, pay cut? Interest rates are going up and down. That definitely has effect on their buying power. Loan guidelines change, family member dies. Just there's all kinds of stuff that can change. Insurance rates, a parent is moving in with them, so all that can change what they're looking for. It boils down to why you need to go over this multiple times is because the buyer's lives can change or the world around them can change. In either case, a buyer's needs have changed however that works, whether it's a change in their lives or in the world around them. Revisiting the needs analysis can help you find out why homes that should be perfect for your buyer are not inspiring them to want to make offers. Believe it or not, sometimes we think what we desire is not what we need. If you're showing them all the historic homes you thought they would like, and their response is they're tepid, it's time to find out why. It's also common for buyers to get frustrated in a tight market, and start looking outside of their criteria. Maybe you have empty nesters looking for downsizing, and they suddenly start looking closer to their current square footage. If so, it's time to find out why. Are you realizing that their earlier number was too small, or are they getting frustrated and not finding what they need? This is also a great tool to use when buyers are starting to look above their price point. So just asking questions basically as you go through the process. Well, why didn't this house work? Blah, blah, blah. Tough conversations equals fiduciary conversations. A thorough and frequently revisited and revised needs analysis is the greatest resource in having tough conversations. Conversations about what they can afford, the realities of the market, timelines, and move-in versus fixer-uppers are strengthened by referencing the needs analysis. It says, what are some of the other conversations you need to have with your clients along the way? Anybody got any good ones? Some of the ones I've dealt with are like, don't go buy new things. You got pre-approved. Don't go buy furniture. Don't go buy a new car, and all of a sudden that changes your debt to income ratio. It can go from you're pre-approved for this to down here.
20 years ago, I sat at a closing, and then husband and wife were both there, and he didn't talk apparently too much to his wife. So we get at the closing table, we're ready to do it, and then the attorney goes, the attorney found that he had bought this huge boat
Yeah.
and spent all that money on it, and we couldn't
Good
close
close. I want to.
until they got all that straightened.
I had one that they bought a car and didn't realize it. This was early on, and they ended up being able to close on it, but it affected a lot. Like we had to delay like 2 weeks.
Right.
It was rough. I try to tell my folks, don't change anything. When you get pre-approved, don't go accepting a new job. Like all you got to do is wait till we get through this buying process, closing the house, and then you can go buy whatever you want. You can change jobs. Like try to keep, don't get married, don't get remarried, don't get divorced. Like I'm serious, like it changes everything. Try to, whatever you got pre-approved, try to maintain until you get to the end. And then if anything has to change, make sure I'm aware of it so we know how to plan. Because you'd be surprised what people will do that they don't know. Show homes based on their needs analysis. So now that we've talked about how we can use the needs analysis to help our buyers stay on track, let's specifically talk about showing houses. Showing homes is a process just like anything else. First, you need to find the home that fits their criteria. You'll find ML classes to help you do searches. You will need to make sure that your buyer is set up on the KW app if you're set up and using that. In choosing the homes you will show clients is based on their needs analysis and expectation setting. As we mentioned, in an extreme seller's market, you should not be showing homes at the top of their price point. You shouldn't show homes that your client would need closing cost assistance from the seller to purchase either. Once your MLS search comes back with suitable homes, you will preview those homes the best you can and show the ones that are the right ones for your buyer. And remember, you are showing your value and sharing your expertise. The best practices for showing homes, I think most of us in here have shown houses, but show only the best properties, ones that have you thoroughly screened in advance and meet the majority of their criteria. No house is gonna have all their wants and needs, but as long as it meets the majority of them. I like to do this, have MLS printouts if you can, that way you've got something to give them and to go to. If you don't, I'll pull up the app and make sure I can, tell them the highlight points as we're walking through. I try to email disclosure. I don't like printing out all that stuff just because it's a lot of print if you're showing a lot. I try to email that, like if we're seeing 5 houses, I try to download all 5 of those disclosures and send them to them. Most of your buyers are well aware of how to find it on the MLS and they'll look at it anyways, but I've had some that can't find it. So I try to email those to them just so they can look through the disclosure. And honestly, that'll save you some time. I've had some buyers that see a disclosure and there's houses that are like, I looked at the disclosure, I'm not interested in that one. So kind of saves you a little time too. Mark properties on a map if you want. Be knowledgeable about the property in the neighborhood. I will say sometimes if you're out showing the houses and you're not familiar with the neighborhood and they ask, is this price right? Just be honest. They're like, I'll have to go back and after we show this, I'm gonna get on the computer and I'll do some comparables in the neighborhood. Obviously, before we move forward, I'll make sure I think it's priced right, or I'll tell you if it's not.
Does RPR cover that?
It does, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a trip on every time.
It'll pull, yeah, it does for the most part. RPR is an awesome resource. I need to get better at using RPR. It came along like 10 years after I got my real estate license, and I kept doing the way I normally do it. But it's a really a ton of agents love RPR. Do you use it a lot?
I used it yesterday.
Yeah, Bentley uses it for everything. I need to learn it better. Because I think it can do what I do quicker. You know what I mean? I think I sit there and do what RPR does myself, whereas if I just got on RPR.
Well, here's the thing with RPR. At first, I trusted it, it's got that range that it.
Right.
Well, the reality is that all agents that are showing that gonna come to that property and bring clients,
seeing
they're
that.
all tricked out RPR.
They
So
are.
if say you put a price in and it's not quite in that range,
True.
close to it, then
Yeah.
I use it all the time, basically.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I said I need to get. I've been saying it for like the last 2 weeks because everybody's using it.
I think it's the most accurate pricing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what everybody's telling me. It's pretty accurate.
It's real accurate.
Yeah.
I agree with that. You ever get into a situation with an appraiser and they ask you for your comps?
See, I ended up going back and doing.
I just add that.
But see, so one of my things is like when I do, so I run my own comps and then I save it as a search in MLS for my listings. And then I always, that way, like for instance, I have a listing in Richmond that's Battlefield and it's one of those split foyers when you walk in and some people those don't sell the best just because of the layout. So we ended up sitting on the market for about 30 days, even though I thought we were priced right. But I referenced that was easily able to pull up my search, show them anytime something went pending in the neighborhood without having to redo it every time. So when I get an appraiser that comes in and is bulking at the price, I already have my comps ready to like see.
She called me,
Who?
the one that I did,
The appraiser?
yeah.
Which I like that. There's a lot of appraisers who do. Like I'm having a tough time of like appraising
She
it.
called me because I guess there was the other agent was a friend of hers. And anyway, so I guess, I don't know, he might have brought that on.
Oh really?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it turned out great.
Yes.
So we had
Good.
27 people show up. And we had 21 or 22 offers.
Wow. That's awesome. Now it sucks for you because you got to go through 22. Oh,
Horrible.
I know. It is horrible. The most I've ever had was 17.
Agents were pissed off. I mean,
Yeah.
I could get everybody.
It'll be a while before we get it. I heard you say she's. It'll be a while before you get that. That was back in at least when I did mine, that was back in 2021. And
That's when it's crazy.
it was nuts. And it was a little range and it was like 300,000. So it was like a great price and it was super nice. I mean, the good thing is the 17 offers and a bunch of them are cash. You can kind of weed out a bunch of them real fast because
Yeah.
they're going to go with cash ones. But showing houses. So there's some good things in this too. Once you're ready to show houses, let's see, let's just highlight the main ones here. I always like to reach out, obviously, to the listing agent. I send the request through Showing Assist, but I make sure you read through the instructions because there's sometimes a lot of stuff in there that you need to know. A lot of times they'll tell you where the lockbox is because nowadays a lot of agents aren't hanging them from the door anymore. Make sure you look in there, and if there's anything honestly right now in this market, I've done it for the last 4 or 5 years. I'll always send a text that says, are there any current offers on the property? Because they do not give you that information just readily, and I don't. You may have a buyer who's not, is not ready to jump into a multiple offer situation, so you don't want to waste your time or their time. And if they do say, yes, we got an offer last night, I just call my client and say, hey, they currently have an offer, they're negotiating, do you still want to look at it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I think that's a good practice, just so you know what's all going on before you get in there and show the house. Let's see. How you make that contact matter. Let's see. We've already talked about that. Then it's got a little home buying, like home selling toolkit. A lot of this is good to have: sanitation wipes, paperwork, which you really don't need the paperwork anymore because everything's done .lick. A map if you need it. First aid kit, I have that. Flashlight, I have that. I have a tape measure, I have a level. Notepad and pen. I do have pens because I usually give them the MLS printout so they can take notes on it. Paper goods, tissues, toilet paper, just in case. I usually keep that in the car. Umbrellas, business cards, shoe covers. I don't really carry that for the most part. The listings, if they want a shoe cover, you take it off. You'll have a note in there. But all that kind of is good to have because I have showed many houses and they want a room measure. So if you have a tape measure, you call. And flashlights come in really, really handy. Things to know when you're in there. Nowadays, you need to warn your clients specifically about cameras. When I first started years ago, there was no cameras in any house. But I'd be surprised if every other house nowadays doesn't have some sort of camera, even if it's just a ring.
They're also recording your voice.
100%. I mean, it is, and I mean, yeah, they're all. It's so. I try to tell my folks, hey, and nowadays it's not hard because most clients you're dealing with know and they have their own cameras. So, I mean, I just tell them like, hey, look through the house. Try to keep any information you think you wouldn't want the seller to know, like how much you love it or how much, that kind of thing. Like,
Someone told me their seller had baby
oh,
or something, and they picked up.
they will. I mean, and I was the Richmond house I was just talking about. I give feedback after the showing. My sellers already know. My sellers already know because they've heard them on the ring out front saying no, didn't like it because of this, this, and this. And I send them the feedback, and they're like, "We already knew. We heard them on the ring." I'm like, "Okay." So I mainly tell my folks like, "Hey, if you love it, don't show how much you love it or say how much you love it. That way we can try to negotiate." But it's crazy.
Have you seen that app that you recommend? Imagine a bluegrass is put downtown.
Which one?
Uh,
The safety one?
yeah.
Yeah.
That talk about recording things.
Yeah. It's through the Century thing, right?
Yeah. True. But even just talking about safe.
Yeah.
It's a neat tool to show where you are.
No, I know it is. Yeah. I agree.
I just, people.
And then for women, they have that. What's it called? Something where? I mean, I guess it's not for women, but for anybody. Shit, what's it called? We talked about the other day.
360.
Well, I use that for the family, but
Well,
there's an app that they have through the board that you can type it. Like if you got creepy vibes about a client, you can type in their name and it'll tell you like if they're forewarned. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you should 100%. I mean, if I was a female, I would definitely use it. I'm not saying that guys can't get attacked either, but
my wife will come in with her phone and go, "Look at this, you were literally all over the place."
that's funny.
She gets all these ways to guys.
That's funny. All right, job is what? Our job is to what? Not show homes, right? We're selling homes. So as you're showing the property, your goal, you gotta remember, your goal is to sell the home. Pay attention to their body language, their cues to avoid continuing to show them homes they don't like, even if they're the best ones from your search. If you show the buyer the first 2 homes on your list, they hate them, and you know they're gonna hate the third, cancel the showing or talk to them about it. Use that time to dig deeper into their preferences and see what we've missed in their needs analysis. With each showing, you should be getting closer and closer to putting in an offer. If you had to choose a property or a house to purchase right now, which one would you select, A or B? Great. Why? Let's cross off A if it's B, and then ask them why. I try to do that too. Especially if it's a couple, I don't ask them on the first one like, would you buy this if you had to? But after the second one, I do that a lot. Like, hey, after both of these, which one would you pick? And they'll tell you. So you already know the other one's out. And then you kind of learn some information because they'll tell you why. And like I said, that helps you change the future showings if none of those even work. If you're looking for a house that meets their needs, not their desire, it's like you're looking for a partner or spouse. If you're waiting for someone perfect, you're going to stay single. If you found a person that was 80% perfect, you'd be lucky. The same thing applies for houses. If you find an 8 out of 10, especially in a seller's market, that's a house they should be making an offer on. And when your client is ready to buy, be quiet, stop selling, and get an offer submitted as soon as possible. And I think you'll figure that out. Like the houses they end up loving, it's the ones they'll talk about and ask a bunch of questions about. And then you'll know that's like the telltale sign. If they're not asking any questions or wanting to measure a picture in there, furniture in there, it's probably not the one for them. Reason buyers hesitate. One, they're afraid to commit. Two, they don't like some minor detail of the house. Three, they feel they haven't seen enough homes yet. And four, they need to sleep on it and get the opinion of a trusted advisor. And I would say that is kind of the majority of them for the most part. Guidelines to facilitate decision making. Help your buyer make decisions with the following. Always go back to their motivation, right? So especially if it's a house you think meets 8 out of 10 of what they need, and if they're hesitating for one of those other reasons, revisit like, okay, well, why are we wanting to buy? Why are we wanting to sell? Like, go back to what their motivation is to help them keen in on this may be the house for them. Go back to their needs and wants, advise them to consult as a consultant and a fiduciary, allay any fears. So basically solve any fears they may have, solve their challenges and calculate the cost of waiting. Like, hey, this one meets a lot of your criteria, but if you're wanting to wait for that next one because you just don't think it's perfect, like this one may go, could be a couple more weeks before, we're kind of in a seller's market. Are you going to be okay with that? Ahas, we kind of hit on those as we go. What sellers want most from their agents. So here's mostly they want help pricing their house competitively, help the seller market the home to potential buyers, help the seller help sell the home within specific time frame, help the seller find ways to fix up the home to sell it to move, and then other. The other section is help them find a buyer for the home, help them negotiate and deal with the buyers, and help with the paperwork. Price plus time frame plus conveyances. So we start in the same place with sellers as we do with buyers. Their needs analysis. For sellers, we need to know their price, their time frame, and their conveyances so you can get them great offers from able, willing, and ready buyers. Sellers lives change, sellers world change, similar to the buyer side. So you always need to revisit that needs analysis because things can change. Just as with buyers, their sellers' lives can change. For example, the seller could lose their job, so they're carrying a mortgage. Perhaps the seller finds their dream home, which that can be a biggie. Like the dream home just hit the market, but we have to sell ours. So what's that going to do? That's going to motivate them to what? Sell theirs probably a little quicker, which means they may take less for the house. So a lot of things change during the transaction. So you just need to make sure you stay in on their needs analysis. Seller's control. There's just two things that the sellers control: the price and the condition. Your job is to know the market and advise them on how to get the best price with the least work in the quickest time frame. Therefore, you need to know your market and you need to know how they can best prep their house. And if the house is prepped and it's condition wise, it's fine. We can't change anything else, right? They're in the location they're in. Their condition's already top notch. So if it's not selling, probably the price, right? It's the only thing you can really adjust. Sensitive seller conversation. So this is where you have to do your fiduciary job. These are not the fun conversations to have, but at the same time, you got to represent them to the best of your abilities and put their needs ahead. So let's see, getting their home ready and sell the highest, it has to be in the best condition, but sometimes there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. Some tough conversations could be odors from pets. Like if the sellers live there for a long time and they have the pets, they don't smell it.
That's a big one.
It is. And it's hard to be nice about that, but at the same time, if you're not addressing it, it's going to hurt this resale value because you're going to get that in feedback. And sometimes you can come around and say, I do smell pets or dogs. Do you have like blah, blah, blah? They may do the best they can to clean it up and it still may be there. And then you get a showing that has that feedback. And then I try to use that to address it again. But that's one of the biggies. That's one of the tough ones. Smoking, typically you don't see a ton of that anymore, but that's usually an easy one. That's an easy one to address though, because they know they smoke in there.
So I saw it Friday,
Yeah.
they walk in, I guess.
Yeah.
Telling me,
Oh, and I've had buyers, so you smell it, they turn around immediately, like, I ain't buying a house that's got
That's the
smoke.
first thing I noticed.
I agree. My dad's a smoker and he smokes outside, but like I can smell it like immediately. Cluttered conditions. I mean, these aren't that tough of conversations. I try. So, like, what I do, especially if I know I'm getting a listing, we've already kind of set that in stone. I tell them I'm walking through the house as if I was a buyer or an agent representing a buyer, and what I would want or what I think they would point out. Because look, we got to get your house in the best shape possible, so these buyers aren't pointing out other things to keep them from looking at the good details of your house. So that comes with like decluttering, maintenance, decor, organizing, all that kind of stuff. Like I make sure I even tell them like if the closets are organized, a lot of times buyers will see that and think they organize their closets. Like this house has probably been well taken care of. Like that goes a long way. And then as far as like cash and guns and jewelry, I make sure to point out like make sure you have all that put in a safe or put away. We know who's in these houses, but if you leave cash or some jewelry sitting on the counter, we can't always see everybody, especially if there's like a whole family you're showing it to, they may grab it. Guns, just for safety, make sure they're put away and in the safe and locked up.
World Series ring.
Yeah.
Hey, baseball World Series.
The World Series ring.
On display.
Anything of value, put away.
I just got stumped. I took a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh, I would have
I didn't
too.
believe it.
I would have tried it on.
I didn't test. I think-
Great agent and client communication. We must apply the communication standards as we discussed in the beginning of this session. Keep these in front of you as we look at conversation template, help sellers see their listing through the eyes of buyers, which is like I said, that's what I kind of tell them when I'm walking through that I'm going to look at this as a buyer. One provides a strong foundation for a sustainable relationship. Once we agree to work together, I'm going to advise you blah, 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 because our goal is what? To get this sold for the most amount of money as quickly as possible. Set and manage expectations proactively throughout the transaction. The location and condition of the home are the first things that attract buyers and their agents. Most prefer a move-in ready model-like home with a few reminders as possible that someone else is living here. And that includes not being there during showings. I also try to reiterate that sellers, if you can, even if you have a pet, take them on a walk, let the buyers be there on their own. Create peace of mind for your client. Our goal is to, and I'm going to advise you, blah, blah, blah. Enhances your credibility. From the curb appeal to every room in the house in the backyard, it all matters. Buyers rank condition as one of the top 3 things they consider when choosing a home. All right, now we've talked about the words that we can use and how they fulfill our goals. Can we think of anything else that you need to enhance your pillars? Come prepared, dress well for the situation, use body language and tone, be excitable. I think that's one thing that helps me. Like, first of all, I'm a talker, but I bring energy, and I feel like my energy helps me relate with that person and helps me build that trust. So always be there, build energy. Let's see. Always remember the equal housing opportunity rules. If your client violates those, make sure you're not violating any of those. Report the incident. Kind of self-explanatory. No commission. We were kind of talking about this the other day or earlier with not every client is worth it. So no commission is worth your reputation. Always remember the Y4C2Ts, win, win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing. Customers come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first to understand, creativity, ideas before results, teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty, equal equity, opportunities for all, success results through people. I think if you go all this at heart, you're going to do the right thing. But again, commission is not worth your reputation. Not all clients are worth it. 14-step marketing plan. So far, we've discussed our relationship and communication with the seller. We've also covered seller needs and saw that sellers are looking for an agent to market their home. Let's talk just a little bit about how we're going to market their home. Highly productive agents, listing agents, market both their brand and their listings at the same time. The marketing opportunity provided by listings is why they are one of the 3 pillars of a successful real estate business: leads, listing, leverage. When you focus on listings, buyers come. We've already talked a lot about how you can do this in our sessions on lead gen, particularly open houses. Open houses should be one part of your marketing plan. They are highly leveraged. You have in the MREA, you had a 14-step marketing plan. Make sure you go over that. The message you put out to attract a prospective buyer and seller is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These two questions are the heart of every and all effective messaging. Your MLS listing reflects your brand as well, right? So we got to make sure we have the right documents uploaded. And trust me, if you don't, compliance will get back to you and tell you no. Usually within about 24 hours, but make sure you got the right stuff. If it's lead-based paint, make sure that's signed and it's uploaded. Disclosures always require. Utilize the right professionals, get great pictures, good floor plans. I mean, when I first started this, I would take my own pictures, but soon as I found photographers, like they take a lot on your plate, they make the house look better. I totally recommend it. And a plug for one of our affiliates. I think Dan Ziegler at Next Door Photos is phenomenal in that package he has. It gives you an aerial, it does pictures, he does video, and he does the floor plan, which honestly I think sets you apart a little bit in this market. Not everybody does floor plans on their
What's
list.
his price?
For the bundle, it's $250 or $260, and it's just a KW bundle, and it includes all that. You get a twilight photo, you get aerial photos, you get interior photos, you get an interior video that starts kind of on the outside and goes in, and you can be in the video if you want. And they do a floor plan, which is cool. I like the floor plans. It's not required on our MLS here. And so I like that he provides that because it kind of, I use that in my listing presentation that, hey, you know, I
He told me
provide.
that there was one of the photographers that were affiliated with us. Would allow you to take it out of your commission when you pay at your cause of these.
So the way Nextdoor does it, they charge your office bill and then you just pay it every month. So that's how I did it with him. You don't pay him, he just sends the invoice to Jackie. She adds it to your bill, and whenever the bills come due, you go ahead and pay for it.
Okay.
That's how he typically does it. And then 3, set the right schedule for your listing. I do think that's really important. So if your sellers say I'm not available for showings at this time, go in there and block that, because the last thing they want is a bunch of requests for a time they told you they didn't want to do. And that's easy to do in there. Listing, this is talking about technology. You can use command, get with I just kind of skip this because Lexi does a phenomenal job of this. I wouldn't even do near as good as her, but she can show you how to do all the kind of marketing materials you want to do for your listing, and it gets all auto populated through command. There's a ton of stuff you can do and different designs in command. Proper signage, make sure your signs are legal. For the most part, I don't think we have any issues with that. But you can check with the board, and then Lexi is the one you check with on signs, what's allowed and not allowed. Feedback, you can click on here. You're gonna give feedback on KW Cares, Next Gen. This is just highlighting the few things. Anybody have any ahas from today? I think we're good. We hit our ahas. All right, success with agents. So last thing we're gonna cover is a win-win or no deal, right? So in my opinion, I go in every transaction, especially if it's not an agent on the other side that's with KW, as in I want this to be the best transaction they've ever had. So they would want to come and always work with me, whether they want to come here or not. I want them to always want to work with me. So my goal is the level of service and communication I'm giving to my client in that transaction. I'm also trying to do that same thing for the other agent. Now you're going to run into some bad apples that wear you out, and you don't want to provide that, but go in it knowing like our goal is to always get to the same spot, that closing deal. We want them to be happy, you to be happy. So communicate with that other agent as often as possible is kind of the main thing I would highlight. All again. No. All right, then you got your daily success systems. So this is where you, for the next 2 hours, you need to make your calls, because if you're not making your calls, you're not lead gen, and if you're not lead gen, you're not going to get any business. And it's so true. Even like me, who's been in too long now. I mean, you get busy. It's like a bell curve. If you get busy and you're not doing what got you busy, you get busy with the top stuff, your business declines. You always have to be lead gen. Everybody will be successful to not wanting to work because you get busy, but you'll hit that time and it's like, yep, I know why my business is down. I wasn't lead gen like I was supposed to. It's the most important thing for sure. Any questions? I mean, I feel like this class is kind of like you can have this if you want. I feel like this class is kind of the easiest one. I feel like is the opening quote is if the highest and top agents always have their focus is on providing the best level of service to their clients. As long as you got your mindset and you communicate well, all this kind of just is easy. Because you're going to stay ahead of the game. You're going to let your folks know what's going on. And you're going to build, once you do, it's probably hard to do that at the beginning, but once you get that first deal under contract, you'll know what to expect and it's easier to lead them into. But I have checklists too. So like for all mine, I have a checklist of like, this is what we're going to do in this transaction. It helps me remember, did I tell them about this? Did I tell them
We
about
sure
this?
have.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
absolutely. Heather, sorry we missed you. Let's see. Oh, I guarantee it. She texted me she was going to. That's definitely her. I don't even know how to end this thing. This right here?